So your name is Rick Perry. You work on Dimension 20 as the set and prop designer, right?
From production designer, and I'm also a creative producer on the show.
And creative producer. Wow. And could you sort of, as the first question, could you sort of tell me what it is you do? A typical work day on the set of Dimension 20 for you. What does that look like?
Sure. Well, first, thanks for it's flattering to be asked to talk to people like yourself. So thank you for asking me, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah,
Thank you.
I'm a freelancer. Oh yeah, right on. I'm a freelancer, I don't actually work for College Humor. It's like more like I work for them per season as a season comes along, and then I go work for them. Yeah, as a production designer, I'm responsible for the look of everything, and kind of the aesthetic, actual play is a little bit weird because it's a lot of improv, and it's a lot of like world building, and so that kind of goes into my creative producer role. I get to work with Brennan, or whoever the DM is that season, really closely to develop props, or most of the time it's like battle sets and miniatures and things like that, that the players can play with, at the table.
Yeah, I mean, you make absolutely incredible sets. Everyone who's watched Dimension 20 knows that your stuff is incredible. I mean, I recently rewatched some of A Crown of Candy with some of my friends to sort of show them what it's like, because they hadn't seen the show before. And they, much like myself, was just blown away at the pirate ship scene.
Oh yeah,
like the ship battle with Liam going Batman mode and all that. That was incredible. The way it sunk, oh god, it must have taken ages for that to
build. It was fun. That was a fun one to work on, for sure.
So when I want to ask, when you first started working on the show, sort of with all these people, with Brennan and everyone else, versus now, how the creative direction is and was split. So like how it's been, how it was, etc. In terms of creativity, who gets to make the decisions, all that jazz.
Yeah. I mean, I worked in TV and film, or I have worked in TV and film for, I think, over 15 years now. So I definitely came from that background, and I got onto the show when they were developing it, and it was really fun because it was at a time when College Humor was making a lot of new shows and new content, and they were really developing things, and they were super collaborative. It was like the most collaborative show I've been a part of, and kind of got to help figure out what the show is a little bit, so that first season was a lot of like I was actually trying to figure out, like, well, what is the set going to be, what's the table look like, it was a lot of firsts, and then what are the battles going to look like. When we originally started, we didn't think there would be true miniatures necessarily, or that we were thinking about doing some kind of computer simulation thing. Like, we just kind of, there was a lot of ideas, and so it kind of evolved into what it is now. And then I think I come from a background of building full-size sets and stuff like that, so miniatures is not really something I had a lot of experience in, so that was a pretty steep learning curve, and now I feel like I have a bit of experience, and I know where to source things and tricks and whatever, so that's gotten a lot more comfortable and easier in some ways. But also, I think we always, like that ship battle you're mentioning in Crown of Candy, we're always trying to do something we haven't quite done before, or maybe no one we've seen do before, or whatever, just because it's fun and we like to make a cool show or whatever, and kind of push the envelope a little bit. So.
All right, awesome, fantastic answer. If I could just take a peek into your mind of recently, you guys have, or I say you guys, but sort of the crew and set of Dimension 20 have been moving more towards Talespire. How's that been for you, and do you work with them, and how's that been?
Working with Talespire has been great. It's definitely different. You know, I never really worked much in like 3D, you know, in 3D graphics, computer graphics before. So that was another steep learning curve. Talespire is really cool software. The developers at Talespire are really super talented and incredible human beings to work with. Johnny Ree in particular, who I worked with a lot, is like the lead. Well, his title is lead potato at Bouncy Rock, but he's the lead developer there, I believe, and just a great human being and really incredible to work with, to collaborate with. Yeah, so that was kind of a lot different, you know. We had to find 3D sculptors to work with, which we have worked with a little bit in the past because sometimes we do custom, you know, miniatures that need 3D sculpting. This was a lot more in depth. There was just a lot of aspects that we haven't had to deal with, you know, like thinking about poly counts and texturing 3D things and a lot of like a lot of just like pipeline management, like, you know, okay, we have this miniature and needs to get painted and it needs to be imported and then the software needs to be updated, and you know, so it's a lot of kind of managing it, just a different workflow rather than being in the shop, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it was fun. I mean, it was really neat to just kind of sit at my desk and do most of the work. I mean, we had people in Norway and Canada and Australia and all over the US, all working on the show, even some person in the UK. So it was very kind of an international team remote kind of situation. So that was kind of fun and neat.
Right, which I suppose you can do now that it's more digitalized. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So
the time zones do get tricky, as you probably.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's 9 p.m. here and 12 p.m. for you, so it's a little different, but I'm sure it's possible to work around. The professionals and stuff. I wanted to ask, with this new development of Talespire, something that we as fans have seen come in the later seasons have been this sort of ability to add things mid-battle or sort of mid-scene. Could you tell me sort of how that works behind the scenes, what you guys do?
Yeah. So, you know, it's an improvised show, largely, you know, but also we're kind of writing stuff and building out stuff. I mean, we have to, even for the Talespire sets, we have to kind of figure out what the battle is probably going to be like and who they're going to be fighting and things like that, and try to predict that stuff and sort of essentially we're kind of like building a toy box for whoever's DMing, you know, so that it's like, okay, you don't have to use all these monsters, but they're here, you know, and we have all these different things, and sometimes trying to build things open-ended, so that they can be kind of interpreted on the fly and used how the DM wants, you know.
Right. Like I'm sure Aurora Nebbins wasn't always meant to be a beautiful dog.
Yeah, Aurora Nebbins is kind of a funny one. That was not so much of a, I mean, it was definitely figured out ahead of time, but we that battle actually was one of the last ones that we figured out. We had kind of knew vaguely that we wanted to do this like dog heist kind of thing, but we were really having a hard time cracking the shell of that, and we finally figured, okay, well, the battle is going to be the escape, and the heist will happen off screen, and we'll make this long escape, you know. And we knew that there was like it was a space dog or whatever, and you know, there is a 3D sculptor who we worked with named Margaret Dost, who is super talented, and she was sculpting some other things for us, and I just was looking at her portfolio of stuff she'd already done, and she had this chupacabra in there that she had sculpted, 3D sculpted, and painted in like a more conventional way. And I was like, hey, can we use that chupacabra? And then she was like, yes. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I showed it to Brendan. I was like, hey, imagine this as the space dog, but we'll paint it real crazy colors and stuff. And he was like, yes, 1,000%. And so then we did, and Margaret painted it for us, and, with like wacky colors palette. So.
That's incredible. I love that.
Yeah.
Have you been involved in other actual play shows than Dimension 20?
I don't think so. Yeah, no, just Dimension 20 as far as I can.
You've been working on every season, right?
Yes, yeah, I've worked on every season. Actually, I did not work on Pirates of Leviathan. That was kind of a quick one that kind of snuck in there, and I was actually working at that time. I was working on Mice and Murder,
right,
and Unsleeping City 2 at the same time. So that just kind of.
I believe most of Pirates, if I'm not mistaken, was also Theater of Mind build.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
makes sense.
And also I didn't really work on the sophomore year of Fantasy High because that was also Theater of Mind. So
yeah, it was
kind
live
of
stream,
got
right?
set up with like a map and a few things, and then they did the rest.
The live streamed season, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
makes sense. How do you think that Dimension 20 specifically, because there's like 60 actual plays, maybe 100 now.
More.
Or
I don't know.
Or more, right? Floating around the internet.
Seems like there's a lot.
Seems like there's quite a lot, yeah. So how do you think, as one of the sort of bigger ones, that Dimension 20 has influenced the genre and sort of pushed the envelope for what actual play is in the modern electronic age?
It's hard to say. I kind of have no idea. It's weird to think that our show is like a bigger one of them, or that we're influencing anyone. But I guess that's possible.
I can say for a fact, as someone who's a big nerd, and converse with other big nerds, that you guys are definitely inspiring people.
Oh, cool! Right on. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's really exciting to be part of something that is kind of coming into its own, or just kind of exploding, and it's really cool to be part of that. It's also really cool to it feels good. It's cool to I think TTRPGs in general, especially like online and stuff, it just seems like it's this incredibly kind of important to a lot of people space for just a lot of like young people to kind of explore who they are and to connect and to be creative, and it just feels like this really kind of cool progressive like thing that is happening. And it feels really gratifying to just be like a tiny little part in that kind of larger thing, that's going on.
Absolutely. I mean, I can say from personal experience, as someone who's both a huge TTRPG nerd and also in the queer community, that you guys, especially you guys, but also D&D and tabletop RPGs as a whole, flourishing into this bigger thing that it is currently, is definitely helping a lot of young people in this queer space sort of be able to find a safe area to explore who they are and to be creative, which they may not have in other avenues of their life, which is awesome, right?
Yeah,
it's incredible.
It's gonna make me cry. I feel really passionate about it. Really
Absolutely.
To, just have a tiny little apartment.
You can cry if you want. I'll bleep it out of the episode. Absolutely. So sort of expanding on that this boom that TTRPGs have had in this modern age, where do you see the genre of actual play in like 5 years time? How much do you think?
I don't know, but it definitely keeps growing. I mean, I think it's probably impossible to fully predict, but I feel like that. I mean, Critical Role is so incredible, you know, and I mean, in the way that they've, I mean, it's an incredible show, but also just in the way they've captured the, you know, the attention and the love of so many people, you know, and it just keeps growing. And I don't know. I feel like that, you know, in some years to come, there'll be bigger shows, you know, like it's like somebody's gonna at some point, like an NBC or, you know, some big broadcast company is gonna like make something, you know. I feel like it, because it's too big to be ignored, and it
yeah, I mean, already, right, with the release of The Legend of Vox Machina, we've seen mainstream television, quote unquote, with Amazon Prime picking that up and producing it. Which
there's a big D&D movie coming out too. I think fall or next year or something, right? And
a documentary series as well.
Oh, it's a documentary.
There's I believe it's just called Layers, something like that. But yeah, there's a docu-series coming about specifically like D&D players in real life and how it's been sort of transformed from this incredibly niche nerd hobby to a mainstream thing. Cool. Also coming out soon.
That's crazy. It's crazy to think like there are people whose their job is professional Dungeons and Dragons players. Yeah. There's more than one, and there's a few people that's their full-time job. It's pretty rad, and
I'm very jealous. That's I mean that's part of why I'm doing this project. Which again, thank you very much for participating. At some point, I wish to bring the genre here because it's not really a thing here yet. So I want to try and do that. And so that's why I'm trying to speak with a bunch of people in this genre, try and learn as much as I can.
Yeah, totally.
From you guys. I want to ask some more stuff about sort of that, what we just talked about, which is that, do you believe that TV is sort of dead and that streaming services will be what everyone uses in a couple of years' time?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, TV's been dead for me for like 12 years or something. I mean, I haven't had cable in forever, you know.
Same,
it's like,
but like obviously there are some older people still hanging on to cable television.
Totally. Folks have like a satellite TV and, you know, whatever. I mean, I assume that it will all eventually go to streaming stuff, or maybe it'll just kind of end up merging in a way that it's sort of indistinguishable or something, you know, like they kind of become the same in a way or whatever. Also, you hear about like I think was it Netflix was talking about putting commercials on their platform.
They will definitely lose a bunch if they do that.
Yeah, but also that's how cable TV started too. It was like, oh, get this cable TV and there's no commercials. It's just shows and movies. But then that's not how it is anymore. You know what I mean? So
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a really interesting time. This huge transition. You know.
Yeah, we're definitely in the development stage still of this new form of consumer media, which is pretty dope. I wanted to ask some of your favorite moments working on Dimension 20, sort of, if you can recall some great things.
Well, for me, the best part is when the players get to see the sets. You know, like it's because it's been like months, you know, in some cases, working, you know, behind the scenes, both like developing stuff and then building stuff out, and it's like you're making this kind of like special little toy set that's got a whole like game and concept, and it's like it's got a lot of stuff in it and that's how it exists. And then so kind of the best part for me is when the players actually just play with it, when they see it and they get kind of struck by it, or something happens in the set that surprises them or wows them or whatever. Like it's just like it's delicious to get to watch that happen.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, some of the best ones would be like in Escape from the Bloodkeep when there was that reveal of that lava mog monster, or like things that gimmicks are really fun, like the sinking ship or the rising water in Unsleeping City, like just things where it's like kind of like you make this thing and the players don't even know, but it actually like transforms into this other thing. It has this development. Is always like really kind of fun to just get to see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think the lava mog will go down in history as like one of the most amazing moments in the show, where everyone was incredibly excited.
It's
Players,
crazy
fans, everyone.
Like for me, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I know that Lava Mog, we built that like a month beforehand. It's sitting in a box next to me, and I showed it to him. He knows it's there and he's excited about it, but he is so good at playing. It's so cool, that like, you could do that check if you wanted to. He's waiting for the perfect time to just blow their minds.
Yeah,
and that.
I mean, traps. It feels like a waste of a turn, and then it comes.
Yeah.
Such a good moment. Absolutely incredible. Well, thank you so much for this. I wanted to ask if you had anything else you wanted to share with me before we do some wrap up stuff. Just any tips for the type of show that you're running, like if someone wants to do actual play, if someone wants to produce it the way you're doing, what they can sort of do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we put a lot into our show. It's kind of part of our thing is it's pretty highly produced, and I think it's probably, if you're starting out and you probably don't have the resources that we can bring to bear. I mean, we're still like a scrappy internet show, but compared to probably a lot of the budget and the bandwidth that a lot of folks have, like, so don't feel like you have to do the same stuff. We build all these sets like months in advance. And then they spend months editing it and post and adding sound effects and music and just kind of sweetening it up. And even Michael Schallbach, our director, will go back and shoot close-ups of the miniatures and things to intercut. Like it's got a lot of steps. But I guess, I don't know, maybe advice would just be like, make stuff, make content, make things that make you happy or that make you laugh, or whatever, like make things that are exciting to you, and I think you'll be who you are, and you're gonna make something that no one else could make, that's cool in its own way. So
just get out and do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Rick. This was great. I mean, thank you so much for responding and for agreeing to be here and answer my questions. I'm gonna, if I do produce it, I will let you know if I do make something out of it. Yeah. Thank you very much for that, and for this in general. I really appreciate it.
Cool. Oh, likewise. Thanks for asking, man.